Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for the back end of March and it looks as though spring has finally poked her head out. Things are turning green, salmon fry are hatching, sturgeon fishing is getting better, they've stocked our local lakes, and we have a big sale this weekend down at the shop. All good things for anglers in the Vancouver area. Now, what's not a good thing for Vancouver anglers? Well, when it comes to the saltwater, there's some more politics afoot. It looks as though the proposed pilot fisheries that we were all so excited about to finally be able to target Chinook in the months of April, May, and June are under fire from the ENGOs, the environmental non-government agencies, and it has us scratching our head. We're going to talk about what's happened, why it's happened in the middle of the report, and yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. Now, to cheer ourselves up, if you guys missed it, we did a video on what's going to be in my pack for the 2023 spring season. Went over all the gear, all the stuff that I carry with me when I'm out guiding, and I showed you all a couple of the fly boxes that I carry in that, but I cheekily didn't show you what was in them. Had a bunch of folks reach out and ask what were in those boxes, so we're going to take a look at what are in those steelhead boxes and cutthroat/bull trout boxes, so maybe you can put them into your kit and be better prepared for the spring season. As always, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. All right, cheers to Friday, everybody. We're going to start off the weather because it's some good news, and the weather looks great if you're planning to get out on the water this weekend. We have rain, but not a lot of rain. I'd actually like to see a lot more rain when it comes to most of our river fisheries, but this weekend it looks as though we're going to see Friday with 1 to 3 millimeters, 1 millimeter Saturday, 1 millimeter Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, perfect fishing weather. Like I said, we would take more water, but the other good thing that we'd like right now is warmth. And it does look as though we're going to see a warming trend into early next week. So if you're thinking about getting out, it's definitely go time this weekend, and it should be right through till the end of next week. Now, that's the good news. Let's quickly talk about the politics. I don't want to go on too much of a rant here, and it has been making me scratch my head. So before we jump too far into it, let's see what is being said and why it's being said. The David Suzuki Foundation, One Nature. Fisheries ministers must stop new fishery that will harm endangered Chinook salmon and kill whales. Not true. Okay, let's read it because maybe there's some truth hidden in here or some actual science. The new Chinook salmon fishery, Fisheries and Oceans Canada has proposed opening April, will kill endangered Fraser Chinook salmon as they migrate through their feeding grounds of the equally endangered southern resident killer whales, according to conservation groups. The fishery, which will target hatchery salmon that have had their adipose fin clipped off for identification, marked selective, will increase noise and disturbance from angling boats where endangered killer whales feed. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans proposal reflects a serious disregard for the critical state of the whales and their endangered prey. To ensure Fraser Chinook numbers have a chance to recover, all of these fish must reach their spawning grounds during this migratory period. The proposed fishery is for the sole benefit of recreational fishers, not for the benefit of either Chinook salmon or southern resident killer whales. Now, it continues to go on to say that there's not enough studies done, that we don't know what's going to happen in these pilot fisheries, and that basically Chinook of the Fraser and whales are going to die. All of this is not true. All of this is completely false. And it also negates one very important aspect that it seems like these environmental non-government agencies keep missing. And that is the connection that the people of Vancouver or the people of any of these communities have with these environments that have the whales, that have the Chinook. For 4 years now, I believe, we've been cut out of partaking in these fisheries. We immediately put up our hands and said, what can we do to have zero impact on stocks of concern and whales? So let's look at the fisheries that they're talking about. Here it is, Howe Sound, Area 28. This is the one close to home for us. And it is in an area that does have some Chinook in the time of year that they're proposing. And so they have proposed 62 centimeters and a maximum of 80 centimeters is the size limit, specifically because the whales need to target bigger fish than that. The other interesting thing that I want to, from this entire list of areas, Gulf Islands and Saanich Inlet, Victoria, Sydney area, and Juan de Fuca areas, all these areas are not the best place at this time of year to go salmon fishing. Meaning that if the boat noise in this area scares away the whales, it will literally scare them into better fishing grounds. So that's an interesting one that I guarantee the ENGOs have not taken into account. Also, the stocks of concern that they're worried about every single one making it back to the river. In the Howe Sound area, less than 1% is an exploitation rate of stocks of concern. And that 1% is actually high, meaning it's less than 1%. So if we catch 1,000 fish, I believe the numbers reflect something like 1 or 2 of those 1,000 fish might be a Fraser River stock. So the question will be whether the connection of the populace of Vancouver and these other communities to the environments, to care about the environments, to spend time doing genetic studies, to spend time doing conservation work on habitat reconstruction, if that is worth the trade-off for the 0.05% of possible stocks of concern, or the fact that we probably push the whales from an area that they very rarely use and very rarely are in to an area that has more fish. Rant aside, again, calling us out on not having enough information is also laughable when all the closures that came down had way less data associated with them when it came to the impact of sports fishing on a fishery. All right, so what do we do now? Well, if you are a supporter of any of these environmental non-government groups, I'd say pull the support. Write them a letter. Ask them what their end game is. Ask them if that connection for the populace to the environment that when it has very, very little to minimum impact is more valuable than a concern about whales who are right now in a stable situation when it comes to their population. And that population of whales has many, much greater problems to consider, like inbreeding, like genetic diversity of the actual whales, like seal predication on their prey in certain areas and certain times of year. If those things were addressed without us bickering about a 0.05% interception rate, we could probably all come together and actually do something that's going to help the whales. But this is actually going to hurt the whales and hurt stocks of concern. That's just my 2 cents. Leave it down in the comments if you disagree with that statement. Look into these pilot programs, get the science behind it. I'm going to leave links to both the response from the Public Fisheries Alliance as well as the link to this so you understand what's going on. Okay, now we need to cheer ourselves up, and I've got exactly the right thing. So, do you guys remember Sterling? He used to work for us at the stop. He shipped over to New Zealand, and he sent this to me, and it was perfectly timed because I think I just read this article from the Suzuki Foundation, and here it is. Oh, where is it? There it is. I'm going to put that up for you. This is a amazing fish caught on a size 6 stimulator just to make us all smile and be a little bit jealous. But let's now talk about the fly boxes because a few of you guys and girls asked, and what do I carry in them? Well, this is my steelhead box. You saw it in that last video. I keep it lean and mean. This is a cool old Wheatley box. I love it. If you ever find one of these, grab them because this tin here opens up and we can put our trailer hooks in it. That's tip number 1 when it comes to steelhead angling. If you're using tube flies or you are using trailered style patterns, which I really recommend on that medium and large size, get some trailer hooks hidden in your box because when something gets dinged up, an easy quick switch instead of retiring a nice fly is way more preferable. Now what's in here? Well, I'll zoom in on that. Hopefully you guys can all see it. But we have our black and blues. You guys know that I love this pattern as a standard issue, and I've got it in multiple sizes and multiple weights. So small and big, weighted and unweighted. Now, when we move over to my pink side of things, it's the exact same pattern in a pink/peachy combination. This is one of my go-to local steelhead patterns when it comes to our local rivers. I think pink is a little bit more effective when it comes to targeting steelhead specifically. Now on this side, we've got our white style patterns, again tied in large and small, weighted and unweighted, and these guys are my go-to accept all customers style of flies. We hook a lot of steelhead with them. We also, let me see if I can get one out, or it's stuck in there, the Wheatley box. Come on. And so this one I have had great success for both steelhead as well as for bull trout and even cutthroat to a certain extent. I like the smaller one for the conditions that we're in right now. This is the larger one, but extremely effective, mostly white with a little bit of flash, a little bit of speckle of black, not too much. Don't overpower it with a bunch of random colors or pinks or oranges or yellows in there. Keep it fairly focused on the side of white and you'll be in the game. Now, I also in this box throw a couple fry patterns, but just in this box. Why? Because I do carry a fry box, and we're gonna look at that in a second, but I'm lazy. I'll open a box, I'll be debating what I'm gonna do, and this one's been really good for me. It's a super simple one, but this one puts up a lot of fish on the gold body or a silver body. Sort of, I wanna say that's a size 10 or 8. I don't go with very big ones. And then last but not least, I usually have a closeout fly or two, and this guy is a closeout fly. This is when I get weird little plucks, possibly from a steelhead, possibly from a cutthroat, possibly from a bull trout, not sure. I'll put on something smaller, something a little more buggy to see if I can get them to go. Now, on the small side, I also carry some smaller white stuff that's noticeably smaller than my standard patterns, and Sculpzilla is your friend when it comes to this style of pattern. Good for a single hand, good for a spay rod. I fish this pattern a lot when it comes to steelhead and or bull trout. That is the basic steelhead box that I carry. I'll put up some of the white ones, and most of these flies we actually have in the store or renditions of them. You know, like this pink prawn is absolutely one of my favorites for our local waters. All right, steelhead box closed. Let's take a look at the bull trout slash streamer box slash cutthroat box, and that's it here. And we'll open her up. Inside it, I've got a row of sort of fry style patterns. A few of those are experiments, but most of those are tried, tested, and true. I've got a bunch of Andres patterns in there. I love them for clear water or fisheries that tend to run clearer, like the Harrison. I've got some more attractory patterns in there as well that are sort of like fry, but worth a shout as well. Then I move to my olives, and we're gonna have a variety, everything from classics like the Nernif Sculpin. I use this a ton in clear water. I'll throw that up there so you can see it. And then we move up in size all the way up to, you know, articulated style intruder patterns. This is one that I tie. Absolutely love. It's sort of a basic river rat style intruder tied with a composite loop at the front to give us some sparkle. And this one's been very, very effective for bull trout for me, and to an extent cutthroat. Same story with the whites. I'm going to have whites in here as well. And last but not least, I do have some really flashy patterns. Just something to get an attractor bite. These guys are a flash fly. You might call out on being not very classic, but this guy popped along to elicit a really aggressive bite is well worth having in the kit. Okay, there's what's in those boxes. Build a box similar. Make sure you have that variety of size and olives, whites, and fry style patterns, as well as some attractors, and you're going to be well covered for this spring season. All right, that's everything I've got for you. There's more details in the written report on more specific fisheries when it comes to the Squamish, when it comes to the Vedder. Make sure you come down and check out that sale. Sale list is linked in the description, also on the blog. If you're looking at it Friday, the sale hasn't started yet, but you can sneak peek that list and see if there's anything in there that you've been looking at, and this is going to be the best time of year to buy it at a good deal. I'm going to throw that bag video up here that we talked about in the thing, and I'm also going to throw one of my steelhead videos up here. That's what my favorite steelhead pattern is, the style of patterns you saw in those boxes. And as always, you want to see more fishing reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll catch you in the next one.